And I'm saying, welcome, Cody. I've got this short introduction. Welcome to Gathering of Light. This is Eva-Lena and our very special Cody Bryce, who has the all information and all-knowing mind. Just kidding, but almost.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
Slightly, but
well, you're almost there. You do know a lot of stuff. You know, you have the big picture, and that is what we are going to try to narrow down here. So we have been talking to each other for a couple of weeks now about the 5 laws, the foundation laws. So I would like for you just to do a recap and maybe do an introduction on the 3rd and 4th and the 5th law that we are going to talk, mastery levels that we are going to talk about today.
Gotcha. Yeah. So each of the laws that we have been talking about has a mastery, so to speak, connected to it. The last 2 that we did 2 weeks ago was the cryptic and nocturnal, connected with the first 2. Today we'll hopefully cover the shapeshifter, the sage, and the wraith. Each one of those is connected with a law where the shapeshifter is connected with the one is all, the all is one, and the sage connected with what you put out is what you get back, and the wraith connected with the only constant is change, except for the laws, obviously. So those ones are a little bit less known about them, so to speak, because the beings that have kind of lent me and people this knowledge have kind of wanted us to focus on the first 2 to kind of get those solid before we move on to the next one, because those ones get a little bit more intense and a little bit more, you have to have a lot more foundation and solidarity in yourself to be able to move forward with them.
And the last 2 laws that we were talking about, we did a lot of interesting connections to how we are mastering the levels in the ordinary day, so to speak, and we are not even sometimes thinking about the power that we actually access to be able to use this energy. But when we talked about it, it got so clear on how, I was about to say, divine we are.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we are all masters. We are just kind of bringing out the mastery within us. You know, we all have all of these already mastered, so to speak. It's just we've kind of forgotten that we know how to do it. And so, you know, talking about it and kind of re-sparking that knowledge within you brings out the mastery that you already have. Yeah, we are all true masters.
Yeah, and you explain it so good, because sometimes when ones are looking upon all these ancient formulas and ancient history, knowledge, etc., it gets so huge, and it almost feels like it's untouchable. But when we are talking about it, it drops down into today, to what we are right now. So it's suddenly very, very usable and easy to understand. Easier to understand.
Yes, definitely. It doesn't seem like some type of godly power, because you realize, oh yeah, I am God, I'm source, and therefore I do have the ability. And it might not seem it in your day-to-day life, but you're using every single one of these in some capacity. It's just a lot of them are, like you said, you're just unaware that you're using it, you know. cryptic and nocturnal is, cryptic, you're always connecting with nature in some way or passion, some foundational self of you. Nocturnal, you're always kind of changing between parallel realities. You're shifting constantly. So you're always shifting in some way. You just might not be aware that you're shifting to different versions of you constantly. And then, shapeshifter, what we're going to be, talking about now is almost a expansion on the nocturnal, to where you're not just shifting the reality kind of slowly, if you will. You are kind of changing you within it. It's not as crazy as you having to completely change the color of your skin, or take away a finger, you only have 3 fingers and you're blue or something like that. It's not that extreme to where the shapeshifter goes that far. You can, but it's not needed. And these masteries.
Now
Yeah,
you just made it interesting, Cody, because when you were talking about this shape-shifting, it's all about the perception that we are using the collective mind to change the perception of ourselves and on how other people are seeing each other. So it's like mastering an illusion. That is the shapeshifter. But when we say shapeshifter, most of the people will think of the scientific, not scientific, sci-fi,
science fiction,
science fiction, and how you suddenly turn into a lizard or into a Arcturian or whatever, and then you say just this magic word: you don't have to, but you can, but it's not necessary.
Yes.
Okay, so you do need to explain that.
Gotcha. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So when you think about consciousness, your consciousness isn't in your body. We kind of got that almost backwards, of the consciousness is trapped within the body, so to speak, but your body is actually within your consciousness. Therefore, your body is kind of made up of the beliefs, the ideas, the way you want to express yourself in reality. And so all of that creates how you look, how your body is. The body isn't as physical as we believe it to be. It is spirit incarnated in a physical way. So with the consciousness and the body, body being in the consciousness, you have more flexibility in that than most people actually will believe that you do have. So if you wanted to, if it was necessary in your path that you're taking to completely change how you look, you can. It just depends on if it's actually necessary for you to do that. If the person has a necessary thing to change from being, really short to really tall or something like that, just even the slightest bit of change, you can do that. It's just changing your belief system and the idea of how you want to express yourself, and the body will change to it. And it involves the nocturnal of you changing from parallel reality to parallel reality as well, because you are changing the reality that you're in, so to speak, even though it's just one frame at a time. And changing that to a reality that already has you changed into that different form that it looks like, so you're constantly changing it, and all you're doing is this more shifting over to a more dramatic change, so to speak, within that linear, so to speak, path. There's a lot more power that we have, and it's why you don't really see it as often, is because it's usually just not necessary to use that much power.
Could you also say that on Earth at this time, we're still in kindergarten, so we will probably not be able to use the power of changing our physical bodies into something else, more than manipulate the mind and the collective mind of seeing things. So
it'll be smaller changes, if you will. You can do the shape shifting, but it's going to be less about how the overall appearance looks and more about small changes of if you have disease or something like that within you, you can shape shift your body to a body that does not have disease. And you're doing that by changing your definitions and the beliefs. and you do that, and you kind of change your frequency that you're at, your
So
core
that is
frequency.
healing.
Yeah, it's healing. Yeah, it's shape-shifting is a form of healing, or healing is a shape-shifting, or a form of shape-shifting. Yeah.
So you can actually say that you are using that power to remove a thought form into a, say, a new imaginary thought body and leave it there, because the energy has to go somewhere, right? If you extract the energy from something, it need to pops up somewhere else. So if you remove it, it will go somewhere else. So if you're popping it into a non-existent thought form, then it will start to come alive in another thought form.
Yeah, like one of the techniques to actually utilize shapeshifting is basically through visionary, like a meditation, if you will, to where you create this imaginary you, and you have them go through the change, go through the shapeshift, and then you see how that imaginary you deals with it, how it reacts, how it stabilizes, if it's actually worth doing it, so to speak. And then by you seeing it in your imaginary, vision, you can either resonate and mirror what your imaginary being did, and then actually go through it, or you can realize that that might not be the choice for me, and then you kind of try something different. So yeah, imagination is actually pretty huge in it.
Yeah, I do know that we got a bit out of topic right now, but I need to to pursue this, because that is quite interesting. I got this picture of you extracting energy from the physical body. I'm extracting my energy from the physical body. Say we're removing something that a cold or whatever. We will keep it small. We're not going into the huge etheric surging. But I extract the fourth form of the cold, and let's say that I don't want to unleash it in the spiritual realm, so I sort of put it in a imaginary container, right? So let's say I put it there, but then again, thought, everything starts with a thought, because that is a vibration, and the vibration has the power to manifest itself and become a reality. So what actually happens to that can of cold?
Yes. Yes. Well, even within physics, you can't destroy energy. It can only be transformed. It can only be transmuted. So that thought form, that vibrational energy of the cold that you so nicely put away, will eventually shift back into pure source energy, and get recycled, if you will, back into something new.
So as long as we don't feed that can of cold, it will sort of dismantle itself and move back to source. Okay, well, that explains pretty much.
Yeah, also the bigger picture of that. Also, the bigger picture of that, it's not like you can remove it, but what might actually be happening is the you that has the cold is shifting into a you that doesn't have the cold, but in some linear form, there'll still be a you that has a cold, if you will. If you were really getting into parallel reality type stuff. But it's like you just separating to a different path that doesn't have it anymore. So it's not like you have to do anything with it.
So, but that was actually the original picture that I got, because if you have transformed it into or shifted into another reality of yourself, you still have the cold. It's still in your energy field.
Yeah, it'll still be like in some form of parallel reality, some connected to you, but it's like not you having it anymore. It's still there, if you want to say that. It's just you don't have the resonant frequency with it anymore. Therefore, you're not going to shift into the frames of reality that have that cold, the yous that have the cold. It's everything's in your field of reality because you are everything. So nothing ever really goes away and you're connected to everything. So you kind of choose where you want to go.
So that is like the circle of life. Of course, when the parallel me doesn't want to have that flu anymore, is shifting it over to me. So you basically should have a talk to yourself, conversation with yourself. Back to the shape shifting, because we have been talking about this for so many times during the past years, and we've been mentioning it before, and we were talking about it in the earlier when we were talking about the foundation laws, and I'm going to give you two examples here that I have experienced myself. And one is the first one is that I found out that I had this power animal, and there was a wolf. So obviously I had to try to connect with that wolf. So I stood in front of a mirror and I tried to, visualize the wolf, bring it in there. And later, much later, I actually saw a wolf on top of my own face. It was not like I physically shifted in, but I saw the energy of a wolf. That is the one example. And the second example is that I do know that you can use your visualization and change the colors of your eyes. And I do know that that has been like a thing in some of the teenage occult movies, when they are playing with energies and they are changing the colors of the eyes, but it actually works.
Yep.
So that is two kinds of different energies and different examples. So
yes. Yeah, and there are different levels of the shape shifting. The projection of the wolf, where you went into it, that is kind of the first level to where you are projecting out a different image that will get reflected to you and to others. And therefore your physical body doesn't actually change itself. It doesn't go through a molecular change at all. It's only the projection of the new thing on top of it, like you said. The Asasani, Bashar and Asasani, they do that as well, to where, because they're a little bit more advanced and all that type of stuff, they will take the form of animals, like a fox or that type of stuff, but they themselves don't go through a molecular change. They're only changing the projection that they have out, and then the second one, where you're changing your eyes, is a little bit more on the more advanced, so to speak, side of that, to where there's an actual molecular change that might happen because you are changing the idea of having a certain color eye. Therefore, the body that is within the consciousness is actually changing to a different form. And so, you can, I want blue eyes, and you're literally changing the belief that you have, not green eyes or brown eyes, you have blue eyes, and therefore it reflects that belief that you have.
So it's more like a physical transformation there.
Yes.
Interesting. So you said that Bashar uses the image of the fox, for example, or did you say assassin, or what did you say?
The Asasani is
Asasani.
Assassin
is something else.
Yeah.
Asasani. Okay. And so that is more like a projection that they are. Could you say that they are using that energy like remote viewing in a shape of a fox energy?
Yeah, I guess you could say, because the body itself, or at least it's like the bodies within the consciousness, and when you are astral projecting or remote viewing, you're not leaving your body. The body stays there. All you're doing is kind of changing how your consciousness is not shaped, but how big, so to speak, it is, how much it includes. And so it's like your awareness of projection of, or perception, I should say, goes out of this form, moves out to the edge of your consciousness, so that you can view different versions, or not versions, but different places, different times, all that type of stuff. Astral projection is basically just you going out of, it's not even out of, it's just you projecting, so to speak, out to the edge of your consciousness, and then traveling around this. You're still connected with the body. Nothing ever left the body. It's still there. It's just kind of like having two of them instead of just one.
It's almost like Harry Potter movies when the snake is, coming up into this apartment, and the mind of the snake is connected to the dark entity.
Yes,
But,
exactly. Yeah, and that'd be kind of the thing, is where it's like you're creating a projection that you can control and move around with. And I think the reason why they would do that, because it's technically not necessary to do that. So, but for them, it's a way of connecting it to different frequencies, such as the frequency of the fox, and connecting to, cunningness, or like different attributes that the fox might have. They're projecting into it and connecting with those frequencies, bringing back that lesson or that information that they might be able to utilize in their life.
So it's I can totally get that. Now they're shifting into the Asian culture, when they are being one with their weapons, or being one with the environment that they are within, and just this sequence of being one with that, let's say, animal you're riding, or a weapon, is kind of, you don't have to be that weapon, but their extension of it brings a certain frequency. And I totally get it. I can't explain it.
Yes. Yeah, well, there's just the different forms of kung fu and all that type of stuff, monkey style, dragon, mantis, all of them connect with the frequency of those animals, and kind of bring it into themselves in a way that they can utilize, the strength of the tiger and ferocity of it, and the quickness of a mantis, all that type of stuff. They're resonating with that frequency that the animal is, and utilizing it. So that's kind of a purpose, or a way of doing that kind of shape shifting that has meaning, or something that would be acceptable to do. And it's not like you're just doing it for fun, it's just because you want to do it. If you just want to do it, then there's no real nothing substantial behind it that would allow you to do it. There has to be something that's beneficial to you.
So that is probably why people who are focusing on trying out new stuff usually get a breakthrough when they do that, because they have the intention of using that energy. And then when they don't have the intention of using the energy, just to do it for fun, it won't work.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, if you're wanting to astro project, and you're so keen on astro projecting, but you don't know why you want to, you just heard about it and you thought, hey, I'm gonna, sure, let's try it, whatever. I'm not, it's nothing really, big for me. It's whatever. And that's usually kind of locking it up and saying, you're not going to do it. It kind of stops you right there, because there's nothing for you to gain from it. It's you seeing if it would work, and so it's kind of, when you're trying to astro project, it's not must, but usually it's for a beneficial purpose of you gaining some type of knowledge, or some type of wisdom that you can bring back and utilize within yourself.
Interesting. So now we have covered pretty much the most of the shapeshifter. Yes. Is there something we have forgotten about the shapeshifting?
Yeah, I think the best thing is to not mysticize it too much. It's something that happens on a small scale, almost daily. It's just we don't recognize that we're doing it. Therefore, you have the mastery of it, but it doesn't have to be this gigantic mysticized thing where you're transforming into a giant lizard or dragon or whatever. It doesn't have to be that huge. It's little things that you're doing.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, that is obviously quite important, and because then we are talking about the emotions that we have and how the emotions can change the way we are looking, the way we are acting or behaving, and most of all, how other people are looking at us because we are changing that energy. So I guess that, let's say when people fall in love, they usually, you don't have to ask them if they are in love. You can tell by the whole vibration, the whole look. So that is also a form of shape shifting. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes, yeah, it basically the combination of nocturnal and shapeshifter to where you're connecting with other versions of you, and then the shapeshifter is actually doing the change from one to the other. So it's like you can think of it as nocturnal setting you up for it, shapeshifter you doing it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. So now we are shape shifting into law 4, sage.
Yes. Yes, sage. Yeah. This one's even less known, so to speak, and less utilized, if you will, because it is on a whole other scale than the shapeshifter, because now you're affecting the environment around you. It's not just you shifting, to different things and small things, all that type of stuff. This one gets a little bit bigger to where you are shifting full environments. If it's
Alchemy.
polluted, yeah, it's like full on alchemy. If the air is polluted, you're shifting to an environment that's not polluted. If there's no greenery around you, everything's like dying, and poor nutrition and all, or nutrients in the soil, all that type of stuff. That's when you have the ability of the sage to change that environment, to have a more healthy soil, to have greenery start popping up. It might not be immediate, because that's a whole nother level past that to where you're actually changing realities, and that's the wraith. This one's kind of just setting the environment up for change, just how we have to shift from one frame to the next frame to the next frame. When you're changing the environment around you, it goes from frame to frame to frame. Just like when you're going from one earth to the next earth to the next earth, it's like you aren't going to change earth. You change yourself and go to an earth that is reflective of your change, your frequency, your resonance in that. And so that one's a little bit harder to practice, if you will, because you're almost constantly doing it, to where, because we're shifting from parallel reality, frame, you're almost in the constant stage of constant of change, just like the fifth one, to where you're always doing it. Therefore, to do it a little bit more intensely or a little bit more consciously is almost unintentional. It's not unintentional, but it's harder to grab a hold of and really master in a way that you can make really, really big changes in the environment. It's usually very small ones that we're always doing. And so this one can get a little bit more nuanced, if you will, and therefore being a little bit more solid in your frequency and kind of more aware of energies itself. Yeah.
So it has been a kind of a popular saying that you are supposed to focus on the very good for everybody and the highest organic path when you are in this ascension process. So you can apply that to what you just said right now, that you are choosing to work yourself towards the higher lineage or
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
of the path that you're walking, so to speak.
Yes, yeah, it works heavenly, or not heavenly, heavily with imagination, to where if you imagine Earth to be past saving, it can't be saved, it's destroyed, whatever. then that's the earth that you're going to experience. That's the path that you resonated with. If you think that it needs saving, then that's the path that you resonated with. If you believe and imagine that it's already saved, then that's the path that you're going to resonate with and go towards. So it's having the belief, the imagination, to know, basically, like truly know within yourself that this is the path that I'm going on. You know, I already know earth is saved, it's already good. All I have to do is just continue on that path.
So this ascension process that we are in the midst of and walking through, it's happening whether we are believing it or not. You can maybe slow it down to, you know, not doing everything not to ascend or whatever, but it's a constant change. So we are going in a cycle whether we like it or not. But you could say that we are right now in the master level 4 of Sage, because that is literally what's happening to the consciousness, the human consciousness. We are literally, you know, moving forward, broaden our horizons about how things work, and how we are connected to each other, how we are connected to Earth, and we are, that's pretty good. The higher consciousness or the human consciousness that are expanding, and awareness that could definitely be the Sage, the master level of Sage.
Yes, because they're more aware of the ability to kind of go on the path that is most beneficial to them. You know, it's having the ability not to manifest per se, but to just choose what's already there. You know, it's like you have the awareness now that there's already a place that has my highest potential and my highest good and highest benefit and all that type of stuff. And all I'm going to do is focus and resonate towards that, and you will go towards it. You know, and so yeah, it is definitely a higher level of awareness in yourself and in others, and the whole kind of bigger picture now. It's not so individualized. It's a little bit bigger picture, because the Sage doesn't just transform you individually and the people that can see you. You're transforming entire environments. You're transforming entire Earths and those that are on those Earths. So it is a lot bigger, and everybody is a reflection of everybody else. Therefore, you do have the power to change that other person, so to speak. You're just changing the version of them that is on your Earth. You know, it's a little bit more, you know, spread out.
I love the concept, because now it's, yeah, when we put this master level of consciousness and Sage, being in that Sage state in this ascension, it kind of softened the atmosphere of this awakening process. It kind of it felt good to know that this mastery level actually is something that is working on a higher level in our consciousness. And as we said before, we are using so many things of these mastery levels right now, and we are not even aware of it. And things will probably just hidden up for everybody when we start to grasp the concept of what we can do with the energy, or dealing with the consequences of using it or misusing it. Hopefully not misusing it, but
Exactly. Yeah, it is very much where we are using all of them in ways that are kind of unknown or unseen, if you will. You're just not aware of it. And when we get more and more mastery of it, kind of get more and more aware of the abilities that we have within the Sage and the rest of them, you have bigger and bigger steps that you can do, bigger and bigger changes that you can do. And you can have a little bit more flexibility and play with the physical reality that you are experiencing. And so they can get very much to where you feel like you have mastery of reality itself, because you've gone to that level that you know that you have control over it. It's not just up in the air for everything else to kind of do it for you. No, you have the ability to do it yourself. And you are doing it yourself. You just have more awareness that you are doing it yourself.
And that small ounce of awareness will intense everything else around it.
Yep.
It's like a trigger point or a glimmer, glimmers. So yeah, that's kind of a nice touch. So you see, when I see the name Sage, I'm thinking about this, saging a room.
Gotcha. Yes.
So,
Yeah. That's kind of what people think about it now because of the sage and all that type of stuff. But I always thought of it as the wizard, kind of the being that can it's like the past alchemy, if you will, like the alchemist. It's kind of like the one past that is wizard. And so that's kind of what I feel.
maybe it's not that untrue that sage actually could be there, because what it does, this master level, when you start to understand it, it will dissolve the illusions of the connection and how to use it. So maybe it's not that bad to have this image of a sage, because it's actually saging our consciousness right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And my greatest, or not greatest, but one of the fun things I like to think of is with the tool, like if you aren't able to actually sage the room, you become the sage. You project out the resonant frequency that you want in that environment. And if on purity or beings that are, icky, negative, if you want, you have the ability to kind of force them out of your reality, out of your, area. And that is using the sage in both ways, the mastery and kind of as a tool to clear the area. And that's kind of what you're doing. You're changing the environment around you, and others can feel that change and be a part of it if you want.
Yeah, because when we are doing a ritual or a ceremonial sequence, it's not the ritual by itself that is the magical part. It's the energy connected to what you are putting into that. Because when we talked and when we have been talking in these groups that I have been in on how to get this state of mind that we are going to relax and we are going to meditate, we are sitting down and starting to breathe and lighting up a candle, and the very thing that we also explain is that these are not necessary, but by doing them in a certain order or using these tools will send the energy to ourselves, or our body or mind do know what is required of it, so it will enter that state of mind just by doing this ritual. So if you are mastering the energy, you don't have to have these ritual tools, because you do already are connected to the energy. So they are tools. The sage are tools to help us to get into that state of mind.
Yes. Yeah. Another like word for it is, tools, but also permission slips. It's a permission slip for you to get into a state of being that you could already get into without that, but it's just allowing you to kind of have more meaning in it, so to speak. You can change, or you can use a tool, and the tool kind of make it feel more real, if you will. It's not as, it makes it more solid, and so yeah, it's a permission slip for you to get into a state of being that you could already get into without it. It just makes it easier, kind of funner, and so it allows for play to happen,
Yeah, that's interesting. So that was the law 4, the master level of sage. So how about 5? Or do we have anything more we want to say about sage?
No, I think there's much more to it. I just couldn't really not project, but give good verbal information about it, so to speak. I can visualize it fairly well, but getting that into words is a little bit hard for me. And so there's a lot more to it. I just couldn't really cover a lot with it. Kind of need a bit more sit down time, so to speak, with it to really try to transform it into a thoughtful information sharing thing,
Well, maybe when the time is right, it will probably get the right words to it, and then you are free to just share it with us, because this is not the last time you are going to meet us. No.
Yes, exactly.
So we are diving into master level 5.
Yes, the Wraith. Yeah,
Great.
which is funny because you think it starts with an R, but it's a W-R-I-N, Wraith. Yes, yeah, interesting. But that one's the word doesn't seem to connect too much with what is happening, but you can think of it as like misty, if you will. Like a Wraith is usually some type of misty form, and so this level connects with the ability to be halfway in between spirit world and physical world, if you will. You become more of a bridge, if you will. We already are somewhat like a bridge between physical and non-physical, but this becomes even more intensified to where you can kind of go in between the two much more readily. And you are able to then fully change the reality that you are experiencing, because you go into the spirit world, the kind of template, where you have the blueprints of the reality that you wanted to experience, and you can change it on that level, and then that will seep down into the physical level that you get to experience. So it's a lot more of a control of the actual experience that you're having in total. So not just small parts, it's the total of your experience.
So now I have this sequence of images running through my head, and some of them are like, there are many who feel that they have a physical body in rest somewhere else in the universe, and they are using that part of themselves incarnated here, or using a vehicle here on Earth. And a lot of channelers explain that to people who are coming to them, that they actually have another body in another dimension, or other place in the universe. And it also dotted over to the concept of walk-ins.
Yes.
Is there a connection there?
Yeah, sort of. It would be that your physical vessel, that your consciousness, the body within the consciousness has a lot more flexibility that we think of. And because it is not as physical as we think of it, as the spirit or the physical body is just like an incarnation, a kind of denser form of a spiritual body. And so it technically is a spiritual body, it's just in a denser form. Therefore, it has a lot more capability of connecting with spirit and with that other kind of being that you're talking about much more easier when you start mastering the Wraith. We have some connection with it, like we said, there's always some form that we're utilizing it but not aware of it. And this would be almost like you having full connection with your higher mind instead of just having partial connection with your higher mind, getting little glimpses or little guidances, so to speak, throughout your day. This is more like you having full conversations with it and then fully communicating with you back and forth. You almost becoming fully higher mind instead of just physical mind, if you will. So you have a lot more connection with that over soul and kind of all the connections that you have there.
Interesting. So that brings probably very, very out of this path that we were supposed to talk about, but I still need to ask you, since I do believe that we have this higher self connected to everybody. You are the source, and that is your consciousness. For me, that is consciousness, that is awareness, your soul. And I also believe that soul and the spirit that you have within yourself is connected to a higher being, probably located in another dimension, and therefore in just experience in this physical form. And that brings us to, if we should remove the essence of what makes us consciousness, what is left of the physical body? Because they are brain tissues both in our stomach area and in our heads. So we do know that when people say use the guts, they are actually analyzing the emotions, and there is a consciousness somehow connected because that is the same tissue. We don't know exactly how, but the physical body is very interesting in that way. So then I start playing with the thought that if you are supposedly removing myself from this physical body, we do know that we stop breathing and the heart stops, but just play with the thought that it doesn't. Is that a being, so to speak, an avatar that are just in a design for this source to use, or is it a being that we are using?
Gotcha, yeah, I would say it's the template that we put consciousness we have it around, our consciousness goes around this template that's kind of already made up for us, and we have our beliefs, our definitions and thoughts, like ideas that kind of form around that template and create the actual physical body itself. Now, one thing is that the mind and the body aren't separate. Like we think, mind, body, spirit, the three kind of things that we need to work on, but those things are all just one thing, and we kind of separated them to make it easier to work with, easier to kind of label and understand, but they're all one. And so your mind, body is one thing, therefore the stomach tissues and all that type of stuff being the mind tissue, it is because it is one thing, it's not separate, and then the spirit is also that, it's a projection of spirit. Your body is a projection of consciousness, and it's not as physical as we think it to be. And so when your consciousness leaves its body, what could happen is that the kind of spirit is somewhat still contained to it, so to speak. It's just that you're not channeling through it anymore. You've created it, so to speak. It's just not being used as the vessel that you channeled through now. And so walk-ins and stuff like that is also a good representation of this, where one consciousness or one soul could exit a body and be done with it, and another comes in to kind of replace it, if you will, kind of continuing the journey that one had. So it's kind of interchangeable to where, like channelers themselves become the vessel for the consciousness, so to speak. It's not like anything comes into them. They resonate with that frequency. And so they are kind of thinking and talking the same things at the same time, but they're still using the vessel to do that. They're channeling through it.
So you could say that this actually is the foundation underlying blueprint of physical reality.
Yeah, that could be a good definition of that. Yeah, it is the blueprint, because everything is projected out from here, our consciousness, which the body is within. Everything is a projection out of that. When we move, we're not going from, one space and moving into another space. The space around you is moving kind of to you. That's what kind of makes it a little bit more hard to think of, if you will. But you are never moving. You are constant. The space around you is moving. You are changing from one frame of reality to the next frame, which means you itself, your consciousness, your being is only in one spot. Everything is here and now. Second law. That means that there's no movement per se. You're constant here. Everything else around you changes. And so, yeah,
And you
you are
tried
the
to
blueprint.
describe that, yeah, you tried to describe that when we were talking about the foundational law, and you did that meditation that we build up frames that we were moving between, and the importance of moving back and not skipping one frame, because it's probably very hard handled to jump between frames for the time being in a way. So interesting, because this blueprint, yeah, that is something that you probably hear about when you're entering the spiritual path, that you have this blueprint that you're working from, and you have this, like pillars that you are supposed to achieve, or have like a goal to go through in this life, and everything else is play and fun around that. You have to move through certain things, and so
Yes,
this,
well,
yeah, sorry.
Earth is a university. It is a master course. It seems like we're in kindergarten because we're so limited on the things that we are able to do, but because it's so limiting, it actually makes it more a better medium to gain certain experiences and knowledge than it would be if we had it easy, if you will. If we were easily able to transform and change and do all this like alchemy type of things of changing one energy into another energy, and it's just kind of natural to us, we don't really learn anything from it. We get to have fun with it, but we don't learn. Having a denser reality, having it harder to actually do it, that makes us being able to change one energy into the other is more impressive, so to speak, and other beings get to learn from us of how we did that, how we're able to transform a really bad situation that we're in into something that can be utilized in the future and can be a part of growth and healing. And so that's why Earth is a university. It's really hard, but it allows for such grand and fast progress in the spiritual realm. And so why we come in here to incarnate is to have that fast sort of really intense lesson, if you will.
So that's why the other levels of mastery is so important to be aware of, because every step of these levels that we are moving through or talking about right now is actually tools to live and change the blueprint, so to speak.
Yes.
And that will change even though we are not aware of it, because when we have reached a certain level or understandment or achieving these goals that we were supposed to do, we are automatically updating that blueprint into the next level.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. If one good thing about it now is that in the past there is probably like one or two like major lessons, so to speak, and themes. They're really called like themes that we're supposed to kind of achieve in this incarnation that we did. Now if back then if you kind of finished those themes, you would probably end up in a situation where you died. You kind of left the reality because you had no reason to be here anymore, so you would kind of end up just dying off. Now when you finish those major themes or lessons that you wanted to do, you can actually change and do different themes, different lessons. You can kind of add more to your roster, if you will, add more to the things that you want to do in this life, and therefore you can continue going further and further. And so you can have much more opportunity of growth in this lifetime now. Yeah.
Interesting. So you see, everybody, it's very easy when you understand it. And no, it's not. It's definitely raising more questions, but it's so interesting to see how everything is connected, even though they are separate from each other. And there are 5 laws, there are 5 mastery levels, and every level have this significant theme that they are operating from, and still they are so connected to each other.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they all work off of each other and on top of each other. You know how we were talking about the levels. It's like one goes after the other, after the other, after the other, but every single one of them still connects back to the last one that it did, and that connects to the last one. You know, Nocturnal going to Sage, they're basically the same thing. Sage going in, or Shapeshifter going into Sage. You know, all those are very close, and it's almost like hard to distinguish them at times because they do seem so similar, but they are just building off of each other from the next one to the next one.
That is marvelous. So before we have done some sort of, when we did the foundation laws, you had these beautiful short, very short meditations or contemplations that we did to every law. Do you have anything for us now?
For the Wraith and the Shapeshifter Sage, yeah, those ones are a little bit harder because it's so individualized, so to speak. It's especially if I'm trying to combine three of them, that kind of gets a little bit more. There are a lot of meditations to do, especially in relations to the Wraith. The Wraith actually has a lot more meditations to it than the Shapeshifter or Sage does. And so that one, because when usually you're meditating or something like that, you tend to go into spirit realm kind of thought process and kind of going up there. And therefore, there's a lot of meditations to do that go up there and have you take a look at the blueprint that you're doing, or that you've kind of set out for yourself before incarnating in the one that you're dealing with now. And you can do changes that way. And so it's kind of a more steppily, you know, kind of takes longer, if you will, way of changing your blueprint. But it is still within that level of mastery of the Wraith. It's just when you master the Wraith better and better, more and more mastery of it, it becomes less time, and becomes more of just a second nature. You know, I want to change this, I want to change that, and it doesn't really take long. You know,
Yeah. So, do you want to do anything with that?
Well, we could. I'm just not sure how much time we still have left.
Well, we have passed 1 hour, so we have all the time.
Oh, gotcha. We're on overtime.
I'm going to split this into two sequences when we are uploading on Insta, because they only take 60 minutes. But that's fine, because this is so interesting. So we have all the time. Take your time.
Okay, yeah. So if we want to do that, we can do one of the blueprint meditations where we're going to do the Wraith. So we're going to skip the first two that we talked about and go right to the extreme, right to the mastery of the fifth.
Sounds good.
Yes, sir. All right. So let me just get water. Okay, now if you're getting ready for this meditation, it's nice to have a nice relaxing place to have time to really sit into yourself, or kind of just relax into yourself. It's better to close your eyes, though sometimes I do visualize better with my eyes open, but it's all up to you. The first thing that we're going to do is, of course, take nice and deep breaths to kind of just slow down the heart and kind of get it ready for this journey. Now, what we are going to try to visualize is this kind of gray space. You're going to basically enter this gray space. It's going to be no color to it, no black or white. It is just gray. And once you kind of have that visualization of you in this gray space, you're going to continue walking until you find what seems to be like a stop that, like a train stop, if you will, you know, where trains come and, you know, pick people up, and you're kind of be waiting on the platform for that train. Once you find this platform, a train will appear, and that train, once you step onto it, will take you to kind of the next level which would be the blueprint or the template level. This will be a space that is more comfortable to you. That's why you're taking kind of a personal train. You're trained to a space that is for you and is your space. Once you've gone into that space and you feel comfortable in it, either an assistant will come out and some being will help you navigate to the place that your template is at, or basically a scroll, if you will open up and you will see the template that you kind of set up for this incarnation. Taking an overview or look at this template, and there might be things that pop up, or it might just be very general things that you see, your age, where major events happen in your life, all that type of stuff. And from that, you will be able to, essentially take out a pencil and eraser, and you can erase things that you might not want to experience. You can put in things that you want to experience. And, this will all be from the, and to happen to you in what we would call the future. So anything in the past is untouchable, if you will. You can change how it makes you feel, but it is there. So focusing on what you can experience in the future is the point of this meditation. Once you've kind of looked over the blueprint template that you put in for yourself, you can either have that being kind of look over it, store it, if you want, to kind of make sure it feels nice and complete. Once it feels like it's complete and you have the things that you want to experience written down and all that, it can be folded back up and placed away. Once it's kind of folded up and placed away, you can go back to that platform that will kind of appear and get back onto that train. That train will take you back down to the gray space. Once you're in that gray space, you can kind of come back to your reality, your consciousness, kind of wake up, if you will, again. Open eyes, stretch, if you will, and that will complete your journey to your template reality.
Wowza.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Yes.
that was a powerful one, right?
Yeah, short but powerful. Yes.
So, well, I like to describe what kind of journey I'm taking when I'm doing this, and because I do believe that by hearing someone else describe what they are experiencing will help to, believe that whatever you're seeing is a truth for you. So this time when we took this train, it was a very old train. It was like a tree train, the what do you call it? Well, the train was made of tree wood, made of
Yeah,
wood.
wooden one. Yes.
Yeah. So we were moving there, and we entered into the station with Blueprint, and it was literally a blue room that we went into, and I have this white symbols, equations written, in there, and then I saw this image of Einstein. The hair, the old Einstein with his pipe in his mouth, and a school bench. So I sat down there, and there was still this blueprint with white symbols around. Einstein was gone, and then we open up to universe. You know, like you see the stars, the nebulosas, everything that is out there. And then I realized the sound around me, your voice was getting lower and lower and lower, and you know the sound that are just around me got clearer and clearer and clearer. So that was kind of interesting. And then you decided to end that beautiful experience. Yeah,
Yes.
well, that was
Yeah.
probably very good. So yeah, that was my experience.
Interesting. Yeah, exactly. I kind of went a little quickly, and I think that's just because when I do these type of things for myself, I move so quickly that I tend not to have those in between times, if you will, to where if I'm traveling, it's almost immediately. There's no pause or lengthy thing. It's always very quick, and so I probably need to slow it down for people to actually enjoy the experience, because it is the enjoyable thing to kind of step away from your awareness and your reality right here and go to a different awareness and get that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it felt very, very good, and it kind of, brought back the everything that we have talked about, the educational part. We are here to learn, to spread the knowledge, and to, or not to spread, but share. Yeah, spread and share the knowledge of how we are believing that things are you know giving birth
Yes.
to themselves in this reality, so to speak.
Yes.
And you probably have a better word for that, Cody.
No, I was. Yeah, no, I was just like thinking expansion of consciousness. You're kind of constantly expanding each other's consciousness and awareness and lessons and all that type of stuff. So it's a constant expansion.
Mm.
Mhm.
And I do wonder why Einstein, because Einstein is not one of my guides or anyone who I am usually connecting with. And I do know that you and Alexandra had a thing with Einstein there for a couple of years ago.
Yes.
But now I do understand why he popped up, because right before we went live, I asked you if you wanted to continue this with the geometric symbols, and we were starting to talk about the circle of flower of life. So I guess that is why Einstein made his appearance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The energy of physics and light and all that type of stuff is a big one. He was doing the time, space, all that stuff. He kind of studied all of that, and so this is kind of the geometric form of some of the stuff that he studied. But there's much more to it. But yeah, definitely, and just him being kind of synonymous with knowledge and wisdom, if you will, kind of being wise, having to go into a space where you meet someone that's really wise and has all this, blueprints and symbols and all that type of stuff around you, kind of solidifies that you're on a level that is kind of not advanced, but it's, has a lot of information there and a lot of lessons and a lot of things to look at.
So you're saying that my ego shouldn't be, blown up because I'm not Einstein?
Well, technically,
Technically,
if you want to get deep into it, you are, but whatever.
Yeah, well, we do need to remind ourselves that we are still human beings here on the same equational purpose as everybody else.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just the funny thing that we are all one thing, and so we do have to kind of calm ourselves down from an ego inflation. It's kind of just everybody else is me too, and so it's just we're all sharing.
Yeah, definitely. But there is also good to know that these teachers, that I like to call them, are still in our field. popping up. So it means that we are still on, or maybe that's sad. No, it's not sad. We are still on the same track. I was about to say it's kind of sad that we are still on the same track because they are still popping up the same thing. But this is definitely something that we are talking about in public right now, because a couple of years ago we were still talking about this behind the scenes in a group, which was very, very interesting to do. But now it's time to broaden that discussion and talk widely.
Exactly. Yeah, get it out there for everybody to talk about, not just a select few.
Yeah, definitely, because that was what you said before in the beginning, and when we started talking about mastery level, or we made that insight that we are using so much of this information or these mastery levels right now, but we are not aware of it because we think it's so untouchable, but it's in our field, and it's here to use. So do that, use it.
Yes.
Interesting enough. Well, we are not going to end this because we do always end our sessions with a healing.
Yes.
So I guess you have something in store for us, Cody?
Yes, yeah, I have this one, the orange south calcite. Oh, yeah, I can't speak. I can't. Orange citrate. Yeah. And this one I felt would be good for us because it kind of deals with the strength within the stomach, the solar plexus, and a lot of our energy is kind of built up there, if you will, kind of stored. And a lot of these levels of mastery tend to deal with a lot of energy. Like they kind of can wear you out if you use them too much, if you will, or to focus too much onto it. And so having that built up kind of stored energy within you allows for easier usage of these energies, these masteries. And it's also good just because it allows you to connect with kind of the middle part of yourself. It's not going too high, not going too low. It's kind of a good middle point, if you will. Yeah.
That was kind of interesting. You were saying that a lot of these energies tend to, stay in the center of the solar plexus and inner gut, because when we are doing healing and when we are doing, working with channeling or the I am presence, etc., I never feel like I am so connected to my solar plexus. It's usually more of another sensation, another sensation. But every time that we have been live for this past time talking about the foundational law, I always get back that I feel this energy working within my solar plexus.
It's definitely a very interesting one because it would seem like we're talking very kind of advanced things, and you'd think that it would go up to the third eye or even crown, the kind of higher vibrational things. But you kind of have to have that good foundation of the strong solar plexus that allows this fire to come out, if you will, and a passion towards it and all that such. So yeah, it's a good chakra to have balanced, and to have good energy into it, because it has a good foundational energy for the rest of it above.
So these five foundational laws and the master level have paid out. I finally made a center for myself. Thank you, Cody.
Yes, exactly.
So I will be quiet now and let you take comment.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So for anybody that does not know, I'll basically be channeling or projecting the energy within the crystal to you. If you want to accept it, just verbally or consciously say, I accept the energy. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. You just say, I don't want it. All good. Okay. energy kind of slow down and soften towards the end. So it's finished up.
Very soft and smooth energy. And it actually moved up to my third eye. I got this symbol. I mentioned it to you before in another occasion, this Enso symbol that popped up. You know, the circle.
Yes, yeah. That's not all. I was thinking just cyclic, it's going and going, moving in a circle, but also, it's a sphere energy kind of going in that expands out, gets bigger and bigger. But yeah, I think I'd have to do a little bit more. And I also think that my mind is replacing one image with another, whereas it's going with the aurora borealis or
yeah, that's a snake chewing on its own tail. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They are not the same.
Yeah, not the same. Exactly.
No.
So don't know why my image is going for that, but not the.
That's interesting. We need to find that out, but we have two different images of that one. Yes, because they are very strong symbols, both of them, actually. So yeah, well, that was kind of informative. You said before, like, this is going to be the shortest time
right.
for the three.
Yeah.
There's not much to say about them. Well, surprise, Cody.
Yes, exactly. Yes, it's just stuff keeps coming out, it's like, yeah.
But I definitely enjoyed it, and I have enjoyed every time that we have been spending here talking about the foundational law and the mastery levels of them. And we definitely, when I have time, I will be having some spare time here in a couple of weeks. I will extract the meditations and put them together in a sequence, so you can do those for these foundational laws, because they are marvelous. They are very, very strong and powerful tools, easy to use, and they are not that kind of tools that will set your mind on a journey that you can't handle, but they are powerful, very powerful. So thank you, Cody, for your knowledge and your willingness to share that with us.
Yes, thank you for having me and allowing me to sprinkle little seeds of knowledge over you.
Yeah, and that's why we have this northern skylight here, sprinkle the energy all around us. So so that was the foundation law and the mastery levels of those laws. And we will be back in 2 weeks, and we are going to talk about the
the flower of life, the sacred flower of life, if you will, with the sacred geometry and all the aspects that are hidden within that symbol.
Can we expect a similar thing with a short meditation connected to the flower of life?
I can definitely try to find one, or create one that would connect strongly with it. I just don't think I've personally done one that connects solely to the flower of life symbol itself, but there are ones that are connected to the information or the symbols that are hidden within it. So those ones,
that would be something to look forward to, because the circle of life, or the flower of life, is a very vivid image, and the more you look at it, the more you see, or the deeper you will be drawn into that energy. So that's going to be very, very interesting. And from that part, it will divide itself into other geometrical shapes that we are going to talk about.
Yeah.
So you see, we will be back the whole autumn here on Gathering of Light with Cody Bryce and myself. So, is there something you want to say before we end?
Nothing super powerful or anything like that. I just wanted to also kind of quickly say that when I'm channeling the energy, I might have my hand out and might be energy projecting from it, but that's kind of just to symbolize that there's energy going towards you. The energy is technically coming from all of me and projecting out into everywhere, every space and time, all that type of stuff. It's not just solely in the hand. And it's not like you have to put your hand up to receive it or anything like that. I just kind of wanted to clarify that. I'm just putting this up so that it's a symbol that the energy is going, or represents it. Yeah.
But you can direct the energy by using a finger or two.
Oh yes,
like
you can
a tool.
focus it. Yeah, you can definitely focus it in if you want on certain. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you are a vibrating soul, so you are sending out a lot of energy, definitely, and we are receiving, thankfully. So thank you all for tuning in, and if you are just popping in here, you can watch the whole episode once again because it will be uploaded and stay here on Gathering of Light, and you can also watch it on YouTube or Instagram if you want to. And this was all for the foundation law with Cody Bryce and myself. So take care.
Yeah, take care.